Hello, everybody. Here we are, 7.1 slope-intercept form. I'm personally a big fan of slope-intercept form. I think it's something that once you get it, once it clicks, it can just make your life a lot easier. So if we can wrap our brains around slope-intercept form, we're going to feel great. I did introduce it a little bit in grade 9 if you were in my class, and it would have been, I think, a kind of tough concept then, but hopefully now that you're older, you're wiser, and a little bit other more learning under your belt. Hopefully it's going to click easier for you. So here's slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. And we've done a little bit of work with slope already, and the slope is represented by the m. This is our slope, and we'll remember m equals rise over run equals, change in y over change in x, and it can equal y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Kind of done some work with that so far. So this m represents slope, and then the b, you might see it as a negative, but we always call it y equals mx plus b, is our y intercept, or where our line crosses the y-axis. And this is also where x equals 0. I'm going to put that. And where x equals 0. Okay, I'll give you a second for that, and then let's do a couple of examples. So I'll give you a second. And then let's do these examples here. So what are the slope and y-intercept of each line? Okay, so in our version, right here, the slope is the one that's before the x. So the slope equals 5. And the y-intercept, that b part, is -3. So this is our intercept, and this is our slope. Remember, in the rise over run of it all, you could also think about this as being 5 over 1. If we were going to do rise over run, you would rise 5 and run 1. Remember our invisible ones. Let's do the next one. Our slope. Remember there's a little invisible 1 there. So our slope is going to be 1 over 3. And our y-intercept, let's look at our equation. It's going to be this part right here. That's our y-intercept. This part right here is our slope. That means that our y-intercept is 4. Okay, beautiful, wonderful. We're going to use this information to graph some lines, and we kind of tend to move between those two realms. Sometimes we'll have a graph and they'll ask you to make an equation from it, or we'll have an equation, they'll ask you to graph something. So let's give that a go right here. So sketch the graph of each line using the slope and y-intercept. So it's best always to start with the y-intercept. So that's like a point where we know for certain our line is on. So I know for certain that our line is going to touch right here at where we intercept the y-axis at +1. And then from there, we have our slope, 2 over 1. That's our rise over the run. So from there, we're going to rise 2, go up 1, 2, and run 1. So I'll erase that so it's not confusing. Maybe I'll do it in another color. From there, we're going to rise 1, 2, and run 1. So there's a dot right there. Do it in a different color. And to go in the other direction, it's true that 2 over 1 is equal to -2 over -1. So it's positive, we go up. If it's positive, we go right. And to go in the other way, oh, this should be a 1. Then we go down to left 1, down to left 1, right there. Okay, and there's our line. Goes like that. I should point out that the y equals mx plus b is going to make a linear. It's going to make a linear line, so it'll make or fall along a line. Let's do the next one. I'll use a different color. Let's start always with our y-intercept, so we know for certain it's going to cross at 1, 2, positive 3. And then our slope, or m, equals negative 2 over 1. And remember, if we have a positive slope, it's going to move in the check mark way. This has a negative slope, so it's not going to move in the check mark way. So we imagine that it's going to go down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1. There you go. So our line is other one's gonna look something like this. Has kind of the same slope, but in the opposite direction. And we always start where we know for certain our line is gonna cross at positive 3. And let's do our last one. Let's start at positive 4, where we're certain our line touches. And then we have our slope is, you could either think about it as negative 1 over 2. Oops. Or 1 over negative 2. And I think that's good because, if we have a positive number, we go up, right. We have a negative number, that means we would go down or left. So from this point, we can go down 1, because it's negative 1, and then a positive 2, so right 2. Down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. It's a negative slope, so we do expect it to move that way. If we want to get a dot the other way, we could think about going up 1, a positive 1, but then left 2. So a dot right there. And that's what our line looks like. Okay. I'll move on to our next thing. Hopefully you got that all. Give you a second. And number 3, express each equation in slope-intercept form. Determine the slope and y-intercept of each line. Okay, I do find this to be probably the most difficult thing we have to do. And this means that we need to be adept at moving an equation around to look like this. So this is our end goal. We want our equation to look like this. And it doesn't currently. It looks like this currently. We have a coefficient with the y. We don't want that. It's okay to have a coefficient with the x. And we don't want it to equal 0. We want everything to equal y. So I'm going to start. Let's move this 20 over. Let's add 20 to each side. So now we have a 4x plus 5y equals a positive 20. So negative 20 plus positive 20 is 0. 0 plus 20 is 20. Now I'm going to want to move we want our x on the right side. We have a positive 4x, so let's subtract 4x from each side. Okay. So those are going to 0 out. We'll be left with 5y equals negative 4x plus 20. And now we need to, we want the y by itself. So we need to divide by y. We need to divide this whole side by 5. We need to divide each of these terms by 5. So this 5 divided by 5 is just 1. So we've dealt with that. So now we have our y by itself on the left side. We love that. We're going to leave negative 4x over 5 like that. We're going to leave it. This is now our slope. And let's divide our 20 by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So that's what our line looks like in slope-intercept form. So y equals negative 4 over 5x plus 4. And it's best, I'm going to just draw that a little better, to leave this as a fraction, because that's the way that we're used to seeing slope. We don't really want this as, negative 0.8, because that's not really in our rise over run. So best to leave it as a fraction. Let's do the next one. Let's start here. We want this 8 over on the other side. We want the y by itself without a coefficient. So let's subtract 8 from each side. Then we're left with x, subtract 2y equals negative 8. This is currently a positive x, so let's subtract x from each side. Why is it doing that? Subtract x. Now we have a negative 2y equals negative x, subtract 8. And now we're going to divide by negative 2 and divide this whole side by negative 2. What we're doing to one side, we do to the other side. And we want to think about doing that to both of our parts of our, the other side. Now, a negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, and we need to deal with these. So we have y equals, we have a negative and a negative, so I'm going to do it as 1 over 2x. And negative 8 divided by negative 2 is going to be a positive 4. So that's our final answer there. And this is certainly a good thing to practice, how to move around equations. So this could be a really good area just to practice over the weekend, practice in our textbook questions, look up a few more examples from the textbook, look up a few online, and just practice, practice, practice. And let's do our last one. Write the equation of the line in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, so they've given us the slope, and they've given us a dot that it moves through. Okay, so we have it's an interesting piece of information. Remember, I wrote this at the very beginning, but our where a line crosses the y-axis is where x equals 0. So this is our x, this is our y. If we plotted this dot, it would be at 0, negative 5 down here. Okay, so we know, because x is 0, that this is on our y-axis. So we know this is the y-intercept. And they've given us our slope. So we have everything we need. Y, oh, is it doing this? Y, no. Okay, almost there. Y equals our m, 2x, subtract 5. There we go. I made it. I'm going to turn this off before it scrolls away again. But there you have it. There is the equation for this line represented right here. Thank you so much. I'll let you know what textbook questions I would like you to do.